Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch that remote. Got a good show. It's, you know, we get the Christmas spirit. We're talking about people doing good things, helping other people. And you know, we have a family here that does something all year round, not necessarily just Christmas, but also the zero in where there's a need, where there's something that touches the heartstrings of people. And this show here is like true story, true facts, and someone that really cared and remembered. You know, people like fade away, but here we have someone, and I got always throwing bouquets. My friend Pat Mascaro, whose family, you know, works all together. You know, they work together. They pray together, and they do things together. And I asked Pat to come on here today. He says, I want my son to come here, you know. So he wants his family to get involved. Now, Pat Mascaro Jr. is here, and the Mascaro family, I guess, I've been around a lot of corners, and I would say the most charitable family around. And I know there's a lot of other people that help out. But let's get that spirit all year round. Don't just get the Christmas spirit just in December. So, my friend, Pat Mascaro Jr., weighing 201 pounds from Lower Providence. Pat, welcome to Hank Cisco Show.
Thanks, Hank. Happy to be
here. Hey, listen, now, you started, your dad, as soon as he hears something and it rings a bell, and he jumps in both feet. Now, he's got a project. Tell me about this project and what brought it on. How did he get involved?
Well, you know, a few years back, Methacton High School is in the process of Methacton High School. They're trying to renovate their school field, their athletic facilities. Their athletic facilities are mostly subpar, and you know they came around looking for donations for it, and they approached us, and you know we were obviously had some interest because you know we try to be involved in the community as much as we can, and we saw the plans and we noticed that the plans had nothing to do with their baseball field. They were renovating their football fields and their soccer fields and their softball fields and basically everything but the baseball field. And the baseball field is really the field at Methacton that my family spent the most time on. I mean, we sponsor the American Legion baseball team that plays at Methacton.
A lot of close friends in baseball.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, my father played there. My uncles played there, played baseball there. You know, I played baseball there. We sponsor the baseball team that plays there every summer, the J.P. Mascaro American Legion program. I personally coached that team for 9 years, and
on your own time.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I was one of the assistants with a good friend of mine, and when they came to us on these field renovations, we looked at it and we said to them, well, what are you doing for baseball? You know, this is the field that we care the most about. This is the field that we utilize the most. And quite frankly, this is the field that's the gateway to your school. Like when you drive down Germantown Pike to Methacton High School, the first thing you see is the baseball field. And so we told them we'd like to be involved in the project, but we wanted to do something on this separate from what they're doing. Like do what you got to do, raise the money. Good luck to you. But we'd like to take our resources and our funds, and we'd like to build you a baseball field. And we'd like to make it one of the best baseball fields in the area. Yeah, we worked with their athletic director, Paul Spiewak, and Paul Spiewak is his name. And at the time there was a different superintendent, and now so they've changed superintendents since this project first got off the ground.
This guy okay with this guy?
Yeah, they had a guy. He left. They had an interim guy. You know, we worked with him. Really did a lot of the legwork for the project, and then the guy that's in there now really, you know, closed the door for us. So the guy that took over for the interim, and they've all been great. They've helped us as much as they can. Worcester Township has been great, trying to help us as much as they can to try to get this process done because, you know, we had a lot of issues with timing because currently the baseball field is also used for field hockey. So we couldn't do any work on the field until the field hockey was over.
Done, right. And
so we told them we wanted to do this, and we would be willing to do it. We could do our resources, and we told them we'd make it one of the best fields in the area.
In the state.
Well, you know, I don't know what all the fields in the state look like, but I know that from being around there that I wanted to make this field as
Well, I'm
best.
the only ambassador in Pennsylvania, United
Okay.
States, so I'll be at the groundbreaking, whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Go ahead.
So we basically went to him. We said, we're going to do this, but there's one. We only want to ask one thing in return. We're going to do it, but you have to name the field and dedicate the field after Robert Childress.
Who was he?
So Bobby Childress was a baseball player that played for Methacton. He played.
Can you have him there?
Yeah, we have the pictures here. This is Bobby, and he's up.
Let me see that.
He's up here in the corner.
Well, you're holding it. Let me see. He's right up here, right?
Yeah, that's Bobby. Yup. And then you can see down here my uncle. My uncle's on the baseball team with him.
Frank.
Uncle
my
Frank.
man. Hey, if you ever go to Greco-Roman, and as soon as you go in on the right-hand side, the first booth, he would always sit there. I'd bring pretzels and he would eat, and so that booth is dedicated for Frank Mascaro, and you see a little plaque there, So when you get there, sitting there, maybe it'll bring you good luck. Yeah. Okay.
So Bobby, he played. Bobby Childress was.
What was he? How did you get to know him?
Well, he was a friend of the family. They are a very big family, and they had a lot of kids, and a lot of the different kids went to school with all the different Mascaro brothers. So everybody really knew somebody in the Childress family, and Bobby and Frankie were buddies, and they played ball together. And Bobby was a phenomenal baseball player. He was, he played third base on the varsity team for 3 years, from 63, 4, and 5, 63, 64, 65. Then was actually drafted in the third round by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh yeah. Who was Tommy Lassure around then?
I don't know. I'm not. I think Tommy might have been playing then still, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
He's a great Dodger guy, right?
He is. So I'm sure Tommy probably knew of him, and he probably was institutional in scouting him a little bit if he was in. If that was the phase of his career.
Mike Piazza too. He was the catcher.
Sure. So Bobby was drafted by the Dodgers, but he never signed. A year later, in 1967,
he was drafted, but he
never actually signed a contract and left to play.
Oh.
And then he never got to that point. And in 1967, he was drafted into the Vietnam War. Into Vietnam, sure. And then in May of 1968, he was deployed, and he was killed in action in May of in July in 1968. Yeah. So 2 months after he got there, he was killed.
Oh.
So
that's the only request you wanted, to name it after this man.
It's the only thing that we asked for. There was a gentleman who was the tax collector in Lower Providence for a long time, who Mr. Love, who had started the campaign years ago, and for whatever reason, it never really came to fruition.
Right.
But my father always believed that families like the Childresses are like the salt of the community, and kind of where. Lower Providence and Worcester and Methacton School District are a lot different now than they were in the 60s, but it's families like them, who worked hard and built themselves into something new that turned them into the township into what it is today.
Oh, this is the plaque that when it's
finished. When at the end, when the field is completed, that plaque is going to be on a monument that we're building up at the top of the hill. That's going to overlook the baseball field.
Tells the whole story.
It tells a little bit about
something.
A little bit about Bobby. So we wanted to name it after him because we felt it was long overdue, and it's something my dad's been talking about for a long time. I mean,
this is what it.
This is the beginning of the plaque. Yeah, it's going to be like a brick semicircle wall, and then a circular. The circle is going to go outward, where you can barbecue on it, you can put chairs on it, and it looks right out onto the baseball field from the top of the hill.
Who was the architect? You hired an architect?
No, we designed it all in-house. Everything on the project was designed in-house. Myself, one of our engineers, John March, we handled.
Tom Cook.
Tom's doing the purchasing.
Tom Cook, he takes care of the Columbus Monument in Norristown.
He's doing the purchasing, so he's involved in it, and. So John and I did most of the design work. I had a vision. I mean, I spent 9 years coaching on that field. I also played on the field. I had a vision of what I saw the field needed, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not an architect, so I had to go to the experts and say, this is what I want to do.
That's all right.
What's feasible, and some of the stuff that we're going to do on it is pretty neat. But
tell me some of the features.
Well. You see here, this is a picture of what the field looked like
you want to
prior.
I'll hold this up here, and you can explain.
So you can see, it's got a the old-fashioned type backstop, really small cinder block dugouts, and then the field itself had a severe drainage problem, where, you know, if it rained for 20 minutes, you know, you had to work for 3 hours if you wanted to play the same day.
Sure.
So what we did was, you know, we decided that we're going to knock all this down. We're going to strip the whole infield. We took everything off of it, and then we did a whole regrading process on it to create a better drainage system.
So
we resodded it with you know, a type of sod that's specific for baseball field in cold weather, and then I have a rendering of it here because it's not completely finished yet. But so now instead we're having giant red brick dugouts. They're going to be almost twice as big as the old ones were. We're having a brick wall that's going to come back behind, almost like a Wrigley Field look to it, with a net instead of a normal backside. It's going to be a high net. And then we're putting in a big 40-foot net over here that's going to protect the tennis feet, because there's tennis courts below the hill that hit into it. And then we're also going to end up having completely enclosed fence around the whole field.
All the fence.
Right, and the fence is it's going to start from left field to right center. It's going to actually be an 8-foot fence with a 12-foot net above it. So it'll end up being a 20-foot high fence that you have to hit over for a home run. And then in right center, it's going to drop to 5 feet and cut across the rest of the, and it's actually, that part of it is already done. It's going to cut across right field, and then we're going to have a 36 by 10 LED lit, 36 feet by 10 foot LED lit scoreboard that's
Lights up?
that, yeah, it's going to, you know, that'll display team names. It'll be all the innings, you know, who's playing, hits, runs, everything, and then a nice sign that says, you know, Robert Childress Memorial Field there. So.
It's not going to be named after Pat Mascaro.
No. I mean,
That's
the only
one thing about Pat. He gives, and they don't want to, don't.
Yeah,
Like some of them cameras you see here. I had him on my TV show, and our cameras. Next thing you know, he bought some cameras for us here for the Hank Cisco show.
Well,
don't mention it. I'm going to mention it.
Yeah. The project, the field is not about us. It's not about my family. It's about this. It's about the community. It's about you know, the kids now knowing where they came from. You know, because Methacton, I've said it already, Methacton was not this high, you know, populated, like very wealthy community that it kind of is now. It's not really. That's not what it was built as. It was built off of like hardworking people like my family, people like the Childresses that came kind of from nothing and built themselves into something and allowed for the community to grow with it. And most of those people didn't leave. Like, they stayed and they continue to help it. So we're not, you know, the only reason anybody knows that this field is being built by us is because it's in the newspaper. You know, if it were up to us, we'd have done it anonymously. But, you know, when you're dealing a lot of times with public schools and stuff.
I think if I was to give a logo, a model, something about Frank Mascaro, I'd say, do good, forget. Do bad, regret. So you do good, forget, and you'd be surprised. You know, I have to tell a story. When I was a policeman, there was a young kid. He didn't get in trouble. He got beat up, and he had to testify in court. He didn't have an old shirt, and I says, you know, you can't go into court with like that. So I went and bought him a shirt, you know, and so he could testify. Now, 25 years later or whatever, I was buying a Christmas tree, and I was just married, and, you know, and there was a Christmas tree over there for $25. I didn't have $25. So the guy looked, he says, which one do you want? I said, I'd like to get that one. I can't afford to get to see one over here. He says, you're going to get that one. He says, you know who I am? I'm the guy you bought the shirt for. You can have that Christmas tree.
Oh, wow.
I says, you know, do good, forget, do bad, regret. And, you know, you never know how people are going to respond. Mm-hmm. So your dad tell a story about when he went to school. He didn't have, everybody had to put $1 in the collection, whatever. He didn't have the dollar. Somebody put that dollar in. He don't know who put that dollar in. And now that's why he contributes and he helps people, and without asking questions. Yeah. No. Well, he asks questions. Make sure you get all phony baloney around trying to take advantage. You know, that's another thing about Christmas time. These phony baloney come around and scam and all. So be careful who you give your money to. Yeah. Okay, now.
So with this project, you know, I mean, it's not about the Mascaro family. This has nothing to do with us. This is about a guy getting the respect that he earned. I mean, the guy had the opportunity to go and play baseball for one of the premier teams in the
Is
land.
his family still around?
His family is still around. There's a lot of them, and they'll be at the dedication for sure. And
Let's talk about the dedication.
well, the dedication we're actually going to have on May 3rd, 2014.
Oh, May 3rd.
2014.
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Yep. It's on the plaque.
What day of the week is that?
It's going to be a Saturday afternoon game. They actually rescheduled a game that was supposed to be played here at Norristown High School. They're going to play Norristown High at Methacton instead. They were very gracious to switch it,
that's
and
good.
so that because we needed a.
I hope the tie to be a tie score.
Well, it's not important who wins on a day like that. Heck, we're going to go.
No bets.
We're going to have a nice dedication. We're going to cut ribbon. We'll do the throw at the first pitch. We're going to make sure there's food for the people to come. We can't have an event without a lot of food.
If there's any kind of party, Pat will have the food there.
We're going to make sure we have the food there. We're going to make sure to have the right people there. I'm sure you'll be involved in getting them there.
I'll be there. I'll be there. In fact, we will tape it. I'll get John Doyle, the director, and I'm sure he would. We'll go tape that. That would be maybe because school's still in session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be a game against Norristown High School, Methacton versus Norristown. It'll be a 2:00 game. The ceremony probably starts sometime between 12:30 and 1 because we want to have
like a picnic area.
Yeah, well, on where on that monument that we showed earlier, that'll be a giant area where you can barbecue. You can have food trucks. We don't know what we're going to do. That's in the very early stages of it. We just literally a couple days ago got confirmation.
You're baking a cake. The icing comes on later.
Right, exactly. That's the finishing touch, and that's That's really going to be the culmination of something really good here because, this kid died, it'll be close to 46 years from the day he died when they dedicate this field. And that's a really long time for somebody to get the recognition that he really deserved because he's one of the premier baseball players that ever came out of that school. You don't get drafted by a team like the Dodgers in the 60s if you're not a real baseball player.
That's right.
And he was
no drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah, he was the real deal. And we're really, I can tell you myself, I didn't know him. I knew of him because my dad has talked so highly of him through the years.
Frank played with him.
Frank played with him, but it's been so fun to be involved in this just personally. He came to me, he said, you spend the most time out of any of us on this baseball field. I want you to kind of head this project, do the design with Johnny and get it going and make sure that it gets done right.
Right.
And it's really been great for me because I've gotten the opportunity to learn about this kid that paid, the ultimate sacrifice for the country.
Good to learn.
And that's when we come back to what it means to the community. You can't really have an appreciation for where you are unless you understand where you came from. And our hope is that when kids step foot on this baseball field and they see that they're playing on one of the best fields in the county, I
said state.
One of the best fields in the state, and they'll have a sense of pride knowing that the reason it's there is because of this guy. Because this guy went and he served his country, and and he paid the ultimate price for serving his country, and it's guys like him that allow us to do what we do, to allow them to play on a baseball field like this. And while it's way overdue, the fact that it took this long probably honestly made the field 10 times better than what it could have been if we'd have done it 30 years ago.
This is not a Burger King. You got to take time to make good food.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
You take your time. You want to make it cook nice, the fast,
Yeah. So I can't stress enough how.
But let me say, talk about you. Something about you. What's the scoop on you now? You love to travel, right?
Yeah.
Tell me something about your travels. What you got? What's on the front burner?
Well, I'm about 10 days away from getting on a plane and going to Australia for a couple of weeks. Been something I've been dying to do since I was since as long as I started.
What's in Australia?
It's just.
Well, you've been in Italy.
I've been to Italy. I was just there.
You've been in Canada.
I've been into Canada.
You've been to Mexico.
I've been to Mexico.
Now you're going to Australia.
I'm going to Australia. It's one of the places I've always wanted to see.
All them big rabbits. Mongooses down there too.
The kangaroos and all that fun stuff.
Kangaroos.
We're going to go to Sydney, and it's obviously the capital of the country, and we're going to see what it's all about there, and we're going to go to the Opera House and hang out there for New Year's and see all that. I'm going with a very good friend of mine. He's a doctor in the city, and we're gonna hang out there, and then we're gonna actually fly up to the Great Barrier Reef, and we're gonna go scuba diving.
What is it?
The Great Barrier Reef.
Oh,
So
you
we'll
better
go,
be careful.
We'll go scuba diving there. We'll go with the certified trainers and everything. We'll be all right. Don't worry.
I don't like that scuba.
Yeah.
We had a thing we're going to life saving with somebody drowns. Rather than using the hooks, we're going to get and then you put this mask on, going underwater, and they tell you breathe slow because there's only so much oxygen. Man, I go. I come up, I said, that's not for me. I don't want to be underwater.
You got to breathe regular when you're doing it.
No, I go down the ocean, I've got my feet wet a little bit and go like this and,
I've done it a few times. It's it's not that big a deal. I enjoy it, and it's something to see because it's the Great Barrier Reef is one of the big wonders of this world. Like where does something like that come
well,
from?
look, as long as you.
And then we're going to finish up our trip in New Zealand. We're going to go to Auckland, New Zealand for a couple days.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's cold up there.
I don't know what it's like. It's summer over there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's they're in the west, they're in the southern hemisphere. So Australia and New Zealand are.
Yeah, but one's up north and one down, no?
No, they're both right next to each other.
I gotta look at my geography.
Yeah. But it's summer over there.
New Zealand. What am I? I'm thinking of Iceland.
Right. Yeah. New Zealand is right next to Australia.
Oh,
so
okay,
we're gonna fly after we leave the Great Barrier Reef. We're gonna go over to New Zealand for a couple days there, finish up our trip before heading home.
All right. Tell me some other little projects that you're like. Pat was helping out here. Pat, the family. Well, Pat he takes the credit. His family did some other projects. I think at Visitation.
Yeah, I mean we've been involved a lot in Visitation. That's obviously the parish that we grew up with. Grew up in. I went to Visitation. My brothers and sisters all went to Visitations. A lot of my cousins went to Visitation.
The public and parochial schools.
Yeah, I went from first through 8th grade. I was in Visitation before I went over to Methacton to finish up high school and all that. And most of my brothers and sisters, all my brothers and sisters went to Visitation. Most of my cousins went there. So and they're the parish that we grew up in, and they're the parish that took care of our family when our family had nothing. So, we're always trying to help them any ways we can. In fact, one of the ball field projects that I know that our company ever got involved in was over at Visitation, and I know that they've helped them with their campaigns for expanding the school. They have a nice parent monument out front there. That's actually the monument that we kind of modeled Bobby's monument after.
Yeah. And Bobby Wine's a good friend of the family too. The Eagles. The Eagles. The Phillies.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby isn't at the dedication. Bobby,
Bobby there.
Bobby's a good guy. Yeah. He lived right around the corner from my dad when they were kids.
Yeah, right there off of Trooper Road, right off a small.
Yeah. We just saw Bobby over at our Christmas party like
one
a week
time
ago.
I was at Greco-Roman and Frank Mascaro, we were eating a little pizza. He says, I'm going to go see Bobby Wine. I said, oh, no kidding. Bobby Wine says, yeah, he only lives, come on with me, So we had a pizza. We went over to Bobby Wine's house and they gave him the pizza. And here he was making a donation. Bobby Wine coaches some baseball children.
I think one of his grandkids plays up in the Springford area or something, and Bobby, helps out.
So Frank was to help make a little donation to help out the kids, So it was always and then I get to know Bobby Wine, good guy. He came to my birthday party.
Yeah, Bobby's a great guy. I mean, we see him a lot around at our different things, and he's so friendly, and he's always willing to talk baseball, and which is a real passion for our family. Like I said, my dad played baseball. He went to college and played baseball. All my uncles played baseball. And
now, Mascaro family, you have the recycling and all. Tell me different towns and cities that you operate out of. I know when you have the Christmas party, you have these different people from all over.
Yeah,
New Jersey,
sure.
Upstate Pennsylvania.
Well, we have our hauling divisions are in Pennsylvania are in Bridgeport, Solderton.
Right. What do they do? Recycle it there?
No, that's where our trucks come from. We have them in Scranton up that way. We actually have 2 up in the Scranton area because we service Morris County, New Jersey. Allentown, we have a division that services Long Island, New York for transfer stuff. And actually, one of the big projects that we're involved in right now, though, is we're building a gigantic recycling facility to take all recycling material, sort and redistribute for recyclables out near our landfill.
Where?
It'll be in Birdsboro, out near our landfill. We're out towards
you
Reading.
have something up in near Reading.
That's where our landfill is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's going to
I was
actually
up
be.
there.
It's going to be right next to the landfill. It's like basically across the street from the landfill. We're building a multi-million-dollar facility with all top-end, state-of-the-art machinery to do the sorting, because it's really, you know, I mean, the way the world is going into recycling, and it's really important that if you want to be, you know, a top-end, you know, waste company, you need to have top-of-the-line recycling facilities, and you know, when we do something, we try to make ours the best that we possibly can, and that's the big project that we're involved in right now.
Yeah, well, another project is the vineyard. You know.
Oh yeah, my dad.
He told me about the vineyard. He went to Italy and they saw some grape vineyards and all, and so he told me. He says he has one up there. I says, well, geez. I asked John Doyle. I says, is it okay if we go up and film it?
Mm-hmm.
We went up there with him and his wife, and he showed the toured.
Yeah.
You know, he bought a big farm. It's not a farm. It's a plantation.
Yeah. Well, it's
when I was
historical.
down south, they said, what's the difference between a farm and a plantation? And the guy says, any farm that has more than 3 or 4 workers, it's a plantation.
Right.
And oh my God, he showed all they're growing the grapes, how they grow, and then the land he bought was I forget, some historic, you know. So. Yeah. But that'll be shown. We're going to show that on TV. Sure. Now, you got 30 seconds. Well, tell me about it.
Well, hey, I just want to thank you for letting us come on here and talk about our field. You know, that dedication on.
And here it is.
That dedication on May 3rd is going to be, you know, it's going to be a great time. And I hope that everybody comes out and watches the baseball game between Methacton and Orangetown. And
May the 3rd.
May the 3rd, 2 o'clock.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for allowing us to come into your home. And you know, it's Christmas time. You know, say hello and give everybody a Merry Christmas. Pat, it's a pleasure.
Thanks,
and
Hank.
keep bobbing and weaving.
You got it, buddy.
Thank you. And to my Hispanic friends, adios amigos. Here we go. To your health.
Thanks.
And that means to your health means to your health. A la salud.